Welcome back to the second part of the RPS Conversation on Opera. I'm James Murphy from the Royal Philharmonic Society, and I'm delighted to be joined by Sir Antonio Pappano, Music Director of the Royal Opera House, Lorna Price, Head of Costume at Scottish Opera, the soprano Elizabeth Llewellyn, and the tenor Trystan Llŷr Griffiths. As opera's been around for hundreds of years, we, its audience, might naturally think it can see off this episode as it has many things before. But can it? I'd like, I guess, now to be quite frank and give the listeners more of a picture of what you each really feel is at stake. Elizabeth, you've already mentioned about grieving colleagues. That's really where we're at.
Yes, I think that's part of the stage where we're at. There is grief because you do, as a performer, put a certain store against the next thing you were going to be doing. Like Trystan was meant to be singing Don Ottavio. That's a big deal. It's a great role. And there are lots of other singers, myself included, whether it's a role or concerts that they were particularly looking forward to, conductors, directors that they were particularly looking forward to, or companies that they were particularly looking forward to working with and for, suddenly not happening. I think there's a legitimate grief in that, isn't there? Because we all want to build our careers. I think also, certainly personally for me, it's giving me a chance, as Tony was saying earlier, to take stock, think about what it is I really want to do, where I've arrived in my career, and what going forward, assuming everything at some point goes back to normal, what I would like to do. And so for that, for me personally, it has included learning roles, and not just learning them, but doing things like reading the source material and doing that in a leisurely, scholarly sort of way, which has been lovely, and not being rushed because I have a deadline to learn this by and get this in the body and get that ready. And working on my technique, working on, there's an album of Samuel Coleridge Taylor songs that will be my solo debut album. Woohoo! And it's been lovely to actually work on that material in a good, measured, thoughtful way, so that hopefully by the time we actually get around to recording it and the thing being released, that actually it's something of quality. And that's been lovely to look forward to have that to look forward to. Just finished learning Ellen Orford, which I'm hopefully singing at the beginning of next year, to have the time to learn that role and not be watching the clock. Incredible.
So out there, I hope you're hearing this. She's ready to sing every role. She's got
including all the bass ones and the tenor ones. I'm there. So it's a legitimate thing. Time is a really precious commodity. I'm sure all of us would agree. And if you have a busy career, time is the thing that you have the least of. Your time poor. And so if you're going to make the best of this, if I'm going to make the best of this opportunity, I have to take advantage of the gifts that time gives me. Grief aside, that is genuine and it's real. I have up days and really down days, and that's been a real surprise. But I feel really strongly that I must redeem the time, because this period won't be forever. That's it.
Trystan, you and I were talking the other day, and you said that, before, in another life, before you fulfilled your vocation in opera, that your work included making industrial doors. And I mean, unless if things aren't solved soon, apart from the opportunity for you to perhaps open a creche, which is clearly you were saying that you might possibly have to, having really done great work these last few years to start building a really promising opera career, to actually consider going back to the labouring. That's where you are, right?
Well, yeah. I was an industrial door fitter for 3 years before I went off to sing then before I went to study. So to think I'd have to go back to that work is not very good, but because I've done that, and since starting to sing now and starting to get my footing with different companies, and this year especially was supposed to be my best year of work then, where I was busy all year. It's really gutting at the moment that everything, the opportunity to perform for major opera companies has come to an end so soon, and to get my name out there further has halted everything. It's very gutting, but as Lorna knows, I'm a happy chappy, so I kind of try and look at everything positively. But I've already been at a bit of woodworking. I've created my own raised flower beds. So I've got another order in from a woman down the street that wants to do another one for her.
You'll get a lot more orders after this. We'll flash your number for your gardening business up on the screen. One of my worries, folks, is that, I think perhaps sometimes the public might hear a lot of noise from struggling artists and think, oh, it's very like La Boheme, and that the notion that actually you are real people with real needs here. And of course, Lorna, in this conversation, you represent very much the wider community of opera. We're talking about, so many different people beyond the artists, the stage hands, set painters, ushers, so many people like that. You talked about making the scrubs to keep morale high. In a snapshot, how do you feel that all of those who make opera behind the scenes are feeling about their livelihoods in the future?
But it's desperate. It's desperate. I mean, a lot of people in my industry are freelancers. They are contract staff. My whole team, we've been very lucky. Scottish Opera have been so supportive, and they have managed to keep people on furlough. So even the contract and the casual staff are being paid through the furlough system. But yeah, when that finishes, and obviously we are not going to be back in theatres till I don't know, next springtime, possibly at the earliest. What are those people going to do? I'm really worried about my staff, because it's not like they can just go out and find other work, because there is no other work unless by some chance the film industry kicks off again, and TV possibly. But yeah, no, it's really desperate. People are really looking into other things that they can do, and technicians are actually quite a hardy bunch. They're used to going out, and if they haven't got work, they'll get a bar job, they'll get a waitressing job. At the moment, they can't even do that. There's nothing. It's really desperate, really desperate. So I just really hope that we can get back into being actually in a theatre again, because obviously you guys you can sing and you can do recorded performances, but I costume people. If I'm not making costume for you, then I can't give work to other people. So yeah, it's a bad time.
Let's talk then about getting back, what needs to happen and who needs to help. I mean, it seems to me that in an already very creative industry, we need to be doubly creative now. And Tony, in fact, you sort of led the march in some regard in this with the really, really lovely and spellbinding concerts that we've seen the last couple of weeks at the Opera House. And it seems to me there that you're almost like reclaiming the space in some ways. So like it was just this weekend we saw Song of the Earth, and we saw the orchestra, which you don't usually see in opera, which was a delight. And there's a sort of an intimacy in the performances you're creating presently there, which one doesn't necessarily associate with the grandeur and the scale of the Royal Opera House. And also I loved the way you turned it around so we could sort of see the wonderful auditorium as a sort of a gesture to who's missing and who you'd like back. Were all those sort of conscious ideas, and what do you feel about the need to sort of be inventive and the opportunity to be inventive at this moment?
Well, with these concerts, we've tried to break the ice, tried to, as I think I said, introducing the first concert, trying to reanimate the space, the spirit of the space, this gorgeous auditorium. Of course, when you're doing streaming, you know, it's just you, the artists, and cameras, and I tell you, it feels quite lonely. I have to say, in the first concert, when I was just piano and voice, it was really lonely. It was a little bit better the second performance. You mentioned the Song of the Earth, where I had about 15 musicians with me, and I felt like, there's a community. This is closer to what we actually do. And so what we're trying to do is develop, make little steps to go towards activity that is recognizable, that is close to what we do. Of course, I want the whole orchestra, I want the whole chorus, but I'm not able to do that at the moment. But you do what you can, because I think to do nothing is not acceptable. Yes, we're having a very rough time, but we do have to think about our audience that is out there that has shown incredible loyalty over the years, and perhaps because we're using this modern technology, that we can attract new people to what we do, to entice people to just taste a little bit of what we do. And I think that is a wonderful opportunity. I'm so happy to hear, Lorna, what the making the scrubs and really helping society. I think that's what we have to do. My lot, the technical staff and costume, of course, have done the same thing in London, and it's a time to give. When, especially since we're asking, the government with the furlough scheme, and we're asking for their help for us to survive. We have to be ready to show our generosity. And the worst thing that could happen is that we think we're artists and we're special in society somehow. We're givers. We want to give. Sure, we need to make a living, but we're there to share emotion and to share to share visions and beauty and poetry. It's a wonderful thing that we have, and sometimes we just need to get to do the basics to support our public, support our society, and show people that we're, I'm a mensch like you're a mensch,
Trystan, you were telling me the other day, I think you were maybe on a run or maybe on a walk with your daughter, and you saw a bandstand and you thought, ooh.
Yes, well, it has crossed my mind of doing some sort of online concert. A couple of my friends who are also singers have done some Facebook Live concerts in their living rooms. But I was on the walk and I saw a bandstand in the middle of a park, and it wasn't a big park, but it would feature very well in a little park concert, I thought. And you can do something like that, really. And if I'm going to do something, I want to do it right, not just from my living room. I'd want to do it, make more of a feature of it, basically. So that crossed my mind. But yeah, it's very hard at the moment to get the enthusiasm and the motivation to actually go back and sing and practice and rehearse. That's just coming personally from me, because there isn't an end goal for me, basically. I don't know when I'm going to sing next for the public, and it's scary. It's scary financially and mentally as well, trying to keep everything positive. I've said I'm a kind of a positive person anyway, but I get my up and down days, as you said, Elizabeth. It's bad.
one of the nice things of Tony's concerts was you sort of dusted off Schoenberg's chamber arrangement of Mahler's vast Song of the Earth, and for me that sort of revealed some resonance to some of the inner workings of the atoms and the architecture of Mahler, which I'd never really noticed before. And Elizabeth, we were talking the other day about the opportunity with repertoire.
Yeah, chamber music is king, and it not just sort of voice and piano, but these almost sort of chamber arrangements of perhaps larger pieces or more orchestral pieces. I, naming no names, I put out there, because I'm an ideas person, I put out there an idea with a company of reworking one of Britain's song cycles, and including things like animation and reducing the score down from chamber orchestra to perhaps, well, the maximum amount of people we can have in a room, so 6. So it will mean that the conductor will probably need to be the pianist, and and or something else. And I think part of being creative is not just putting art out there. It's trying to think creatively about, well, how can we present this work in a different format, in a way that is lean, so that it can perhaps be done outdoors as well as indoors, and therefore be easier for our audiences to attend, because distancing is easier in a park than it is in a venue. That will mean that perhaps it can either be done by 2 people or by 6, or as restrictions are lifted, perhaps we can add more musicians to it. And just thinking about what will be really interesting for perhaps a new audience who have never been to the opera, who has never met an opera singer in Morrison's, as I was talking about with you last week. What would that look like if we took that outside, perhaps, or made it smaller, or added another element of art to it? Because I guess I feel, yes, it is important to make this art and to be generous with the way that we offer our art to around us, but at the same time, we have mortgages, we have rent, we have children. I've got elderly parent, and when I got back from Germany, I was slapped with a very big bill to do a repair to my house, and I didn't have the money to pay. Well, I had to pay it, I had to do it, but there's a big hole in my bank account which I wasn't expecting, and so I would like to see going forward that there is a balance between, streaming things for free and sort of really tantalizing people with the ideas and the music and the art, but at the same time thinking, okay, well, I'll give you this for free, but this next thing, which is really good and that I think you'll be really interested in, you're going to have to pay for, because it is really good, and it's I think you'll really enjoy it, and sell it in the same sort of way. I would like to see some of our streaming actually creating revenue, not just for singers, but for folk like Lorna and her team and the backstage team and the techies, and that actually any income that we make, part of that goes to those people in our opera family that won't find it as easy, in inverted commas, to make money. We have an incredible product. Why aren't we selling it more? Because I think people will pay for it. I believe people will pay for it, whether they're the sort of the audience that we know and love and we treasure, or whether they are people who just love music in any form. I think people will be prepared to pay for it. We just need to ask them to do so.
That's what we're doing. That's what we gave with our concerts. We gave one free concert, and then for the second program and for the third program, we charged a nominal fee, $4.99.
Such a bargain. Such a bargain.
I think it is a bargain, and we shouldn't. I don't think we should be ashamed of that. Actually, the fact that we're charging. One of the things that one does have to be careful about is that of creating a society that expects everything for free.
Yeah.
You know, because that is a little bit the expectation. Now, that said, I think all these videos that have been made by my musicians, by my choruses, in Rome, here in London, it's been fantastic to keep the morale of the institutions, to do these virtual creations that they've been doing. That's been fantastic, because I think that's been almost like a therapy for the musicians and for the singers, and that's great. But if you're offering a concert, that is being streamed, I think you can and must charge for it. Nothing outrageous, but you know, it's the respectful and it's the right thing to do, because we are in trouble also.
Yeah, we're very much out of time now, I'm afraid to say, with so much more still to talk about. But I just wanted to say, if just a few words, if there was anything that each of you might say to the audience, whoever may be listening, while we can't see them in the usual ways right now, is there anything you would say?
Well, kind of carrying on from what we've just spoken about, any opportunity that our audience has, not just to listen and to enjoy, and if you like, consume what we're offering, any opportunity that they have to even make a small donation. None of us has vast amounts of money coming in at the moment, so even just making a donation or just making a commitment to a musician's charity or something, I think if every one of our audience members, old and new, could do that, that would be fabulous, not just for the people that you're seeing, but for the people like Lorna and her team that you don't see. Yeah, that would be fabulous. Stick with us, and anything that you hear and that you've enjoyed or that you would like to hear or enjoy, please be prepared to pay for it and support us that way too.
That says it all almost. Anyone else want to add anything to that?
I would just like to say to people that when it all does start up again, please go out and see stuff. Go out and see theatre, go out and see, even if it's the pantomime, go and see opera, go and see ballet, because actually that's what we really need as well. We really need people, not just think, oh, that's a nice idea, but to actually go and do it. Go out and see it. Not to be scared of actually sitting in an auditorium with another person 2 meters away from you. Just do it. Put a mask on. Go and do it.
Yeah.
For me, just the thought of hearing an orchestra tuning up, waiting for the curtain to go up, is such an exciting prospect. There is so much more to say about this. With time against us, we hope this at least has given you at home a small impression of what's at stake for opera and the many people around the UK devoted to it and whose livelihoods depend on it. As we've seen, these are people who are keen to get back to work, who are keen to connect, keen to share, and as Tony said, keen to feed the audience and to do it better. Please keep them in mind and follow and support them however you can in the months ahead. We've more RPS conversations to come, so I hope you'll join us again. You might even like to go one step further and consider becoming an RPS member and join us as we set out to explore and to celebrate what makes Britain Philharmonic. Many thanks indeed to our guests today, Elizabeth Llewellyn, Lorna Price, Trystan Llŷr Griffiths, and Sir Antonio Pappano.